Hey guys, back with another video on how to create the dress that we looked at on Monday. So I've just got started here. I've taken all these photos of the dresses, so I'll email those to you with the video link. So as always, begin with your dummy. What I'd like you to do, just bring your layers up and just make sure the dummy is locked. That's just going to help you not mess anything up. Okay, so let's just get straight into it. So we look at the basic construction. So we've got the neckline, it's sort of a slight V shape. We've got the armholes there. So always construct the basic shape on your dummy. So using a nice bright color, let's just start off with a blue. We're just going to start to construct that shape. I think it's probably coming down to about there. So around about there. Again, you can go in and adjust all these shapes just so it's exactly how you want it. Always keep this end open because we're going to join that up to the other side. So there's our first part of the neckline. We've got another one that goes along the back that's slightly higher up. So let's just lock that first piece, object, lock selection, and starting from this point, let's just go ahead and draw that back piece. Again, just always leave this end open. Okay, something like that. And just adjust those. Right, so we've got the back part and we've got the front one. So next thing I'm just going to create these armholes. So it's roughly the same width as the neck. So just go ahead and lock this piece, lock selection. So the armholes almost follow that neckline, and there's a nice curve just in there. So starting from the top here, you can probably do that just in one curve. Something like that. So these ones I'm going to close. There's no need to keep these ones open. When you finish that first curve, just one click on the end, just so it's a square endpoint and you don't get a weird curve happening there. I'm going to construct the armhole so it comes right up to the top behind there. That's a nice long curve. And just close that shape. Right, so we've got our three basic shapes, the armhole, we've got the front of the neck, we've got the back neckline. Right, so the next part we're going to draw while we're constructing this on the dummy is just the length of the dress. So while we're on the dummy, we can gauge the proportions and see where that dress comes down to. And I think it probably just comes down below the knees somewhere. So just make sure all these pieces are locked. So with the pen tool, so if you look at the shape of the dress, it's sort of got this nice bit of a curve in here, it curves out, and then slightly in again at the bottom. So just with our pen tool starting from right at the bottom point of the armhole, I'm going to click once on there, and I can just use the shape of the dummy just to allow me to see where some of those curves are. It curves out a bit there, and it comes down somewhere just below the knee. So we're just using one curved line just to construct the shape of the side of the dress. Right, so I've moved that dress now away from the dummy, and I've just put that on a nice clean artboard. And from here we can start adding some of the colour and the details. So just select those three pieces, and from your colour palette, just choose a colour that's, oh, that's the stroke. I want to choose a fill. Just use a fill colour that's close to the colour of the fabric, and then you can just go in and adjust some of that as to where you think that is right. Probably a bit more black. Yeah, it's probably somewhere around there. Once you have that colour you're happy with, don't forget to select your swatch palette and just drag that into an empty space, and that will appear in your swatch palette. What you can then do while you're here is deselect the armhole and the neck lines. Just add a bit more black to that, just make that slightly darker, and add that swatch. So now you've got a swatch which we're now going to use for stitching and just the outlines. So again, selecting those three pieces with your stroke selected, you can go back to your swatch and just choose that darker stroke. So now we've got a nice defined line that we can use for stitchings and seams. So the first thing you need to do is just send some of these pieces to the back. So the armhole, if you look at your reference picture, the front of the neck is at the front, then the armhole and the back neckline obviously is sent to back. So we select the armhole, object, arrange, send to back, and we do the same for the back of the neck, arrange, send to back. Right. So now we're just going to add 2 rows of stitching, one at each side of the neckline. So deselect your fill, so we've just got the darker stroke selected. Select all these and just lock those so you're not messing around with them. And we're just going to follow the curve of that neckline. And then just adjust the stroke. So window, stroke, we're going to make that a dashed line. I'm going to make that about 0.5, and it's about maybe a 1 point dash with a 0.5 gap. There we go. So now we've got a nice line of stitching along there. Right, so I've gone ahead and just added all the stitching to those edges. So what we need to do now is select that group of the armhole and the two necklines. Let's go ahead and group these. So object, group, so it's just easy to control them. And we're going to duplicate, so option, drag and shift, just to make a copy of that. And we're just going to reflect that. So just make a mirror image of that. Select that and just drag that back. Just so those two lock into place. And there we have now the whole top of the dress. So let's just go and we just need to join these up. So just selecting your direct select tool, select those two endpoints, object, path, join, then same for the bottom ones, object, path, and join. Okay, so before we join these 2 points, we just need to ungroup these again. So select one side of the group, object, ungroup, and just go ahead and ungroup that other side. And now we can select those two endpoints, either object, path, join, or we select those 2 points and press Command J. So now we've got one of the pieces hiding the path. So we can just select that top piece and center back. And we just make the same joins on this one. Command J, Command J. So we send that to the back, but you notice when we send that to the back, we've now got to send all these other ones back to the back. And the last step, we're just going to fill in the rest of the dress with a solid color. So firstly, what I want you to do is select all that top part and Command 2 or lock selection. And select that half of the dress that you've got the blue line on. And let's just start to follow the line of the dress around. And we're just going to follow that around to the center of the dress.